There are so many reasons in this congregation why it has become what it is, and how it has blessed so many of us, and how it has blessed us as a staff to work together over these years. And so it's with great pleasure this morning that we invite one of our former staff members back. The same way, what I think I'm trying to do here is to make sure that in my inviting you back, they will invite me back someday. So please do a good job. Otherwise, they'll say, no, I don't want to hear from him again. But one of the gifts that we have all received through the years was working with Mark, who was our youth director here for a number of years, and who moved on to things up the road, and now is even farther up the road. But please welcome back Mark Ristine.
Good morning. Our scripture reading today is from Matthew, 2nd chapter, verse 1 through 12. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. "In Bethlehem, in Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me, so that I too may go and worship him." After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen when it rose went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. Thank you guys for being here this morning.
It's our pleasure.
10 years ago, God grabbed a hold of my heart in this community and turned it and started to change me. 7 years and 4 months ago, God pushed me into this crazy love affair with young people so that I could help them see his joy. 6 years ago, I married my wife, and it's been 2 years and 6 months since I've had the honor of speaking to you. So thank you for being here. I know. So in this story of the three Magi, there's a couple of people or groups of people that I'd like to talk about. The first is King Herod. King Herod was not Jewish. He was the king of the Jews, but a proclaimed king of the Jews. One who had been appointed by the Romans, one who had power, who had money, who loved to build great buildings and great temples. One who was interested in the star, because if he could find the star and follow it and see what was under the star, he would be able to protect his kingdom. Another neat thing about Herod is he loved to kill people. I have a list because it's too long, I would forget. His wife, his sons, his brother-in-law, his mother-in-law, his uncles, power-hungry and ruthless and interested in the star. Another group of people in this story are the religious leaders and teachers of the law. Very, very smart people. People who studied the Jewish faith, the traditions, the history. People who understood what the prophecies were supposed to mean. People who were convinced that if they could know everything there was to know about God, they would know who God was, and they would know joy and peace and be faithful. And the third group of people in this story are the Magi. I love the song that calls them kings. They weren't kings. They were fortune tellers, astrologers, Probably had some money, probably well educated, definitely not of the Jewish faith. They traveled from far away. People who sought the star because they were seeking to understand the truth of the prophecy that God will meet us on this earth face to face. All of them, all three of them, seeking the same thing. What's the meaning of our lives? What's the purpose of our existence? How did this all get created? How will this all end? How will this all play out? All of them seeking the star for that same answer, but with very different motivations. Herod sought the star so he could protect himself, because his purpose, his meaning, was about what he had, who he controlled, what he built. The very, very smart people who sought the star because their purpose, their meaning came from what they knew, came from what they could teach, came from how they could control the flow of information. And these outsiders, these people who weren't of the community, who searched for purpose and meaning and truth, had to do with finding a living God. I don't want to speak for you guys. It's been a while since I've seen you. I know for me, I seek that same meaning. Why was I born? What am I supposed to do? How's this all going to end? How do I handle stuff that goes wrong? Almost every day there comes a moment when I think, how do I get through this? I seek that same meaning. And I'm prone and susceptible to seeking the answer in any of those three ways. Sometimes it's in my stuff. If I have enough stuff, if I have enough money, if I have enough security, everything's going to be fine. I got one of these about 3 months ago. This is the second one. I thought if I got one of these, I'd be really, really happy because it's really cool and I could keep it with me all the time and I could control my schedule. And then I was putting my 2-year-old in the car and I dropped it and it got run over. And I took it out of the case and the 2-year-old said, "Daddy, that's a mess." I said, "I know." And this thing that I thought might make me happy, might help me find my purpose, was destroyed in 2 seconds. "Daddy, that's a mess." Sometimes I seek my purpose by reading, by learning. If I can just know enough, if I can just teach enough people what the truth is, if I can love kids enough and help them know who God is, that's going to define who I am through my head. And then I find out that there's an answer that I thought was absolutely correct. It's wrong. Or it changes, or it moves. Sometimes on a very, very good day, like the Magi, I seek my purpose, my meaning, my truth by actually looking for places where God is alive in the world. And in those moments when I find it, for a second, it doesn't matter what I own. It doesn't matter what I know, because my heart is full. I understand my purpose. I don't need to learn anything else, be anything else, own anything else, do anything else. I am loved by God. Maybe it's the difference for the Magi and for me between following the star and following my star. You see, the star is about truth, about a living God, about his relationship with us. Our star is about things that I might put in front of that. You guys are going to get stars later today. If you've not been here before on this Sunday, this community has a tradition of picking stars out of a basket. You're not allowed to look. You're not allowed to pick your favorite one. They're all upside down. Don't sneak. You reach in, you randomly grab one. The idea being that somehow the Spirit is involved in that, and there's something on that star that you need in your life to focus on, to think about, to pray about, to meditate about, to look for. You either need more of it or you need to give it. There's something about that particular star which makes it uniquely meant for you. If you've not been in this community before on this Sunday, let me tell you what is on the stars. Some of you will get love. Some of you will get joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Great stuff. Fruits of the Holy Spirit. Gifts that God gives us as we move closer in relationship to Him. Ways that we can see that He's present and alive in our life. Starts to guide us closer to God. Is there potential, though, to turn those stars from guides into an end in and of themselves? Some of you will get love. If I can find more love or give more love, then I'll finally know God. For those of you that get joy, if I can find more joy or give more joy or see more joy, I will feel God. If there's more peace, if I'm kinder, if I surround myself with goodness or faithfulness, if only I could be gentler or more in control of myself, then I will have brought myself closer to God. Remember the religious leaders in the story, the really, really smart people? They would call themselves faithful. They ate the right things, did the right things, said the right things, learned the right things, on the right day, at the right hour, with the right hand, which had been cleaned the right number of times, sitting next to the right person, on the right corner in the city. They were faithful. An end in and of itself. Do you remember Herod in the story? I would venture to say that Herod was probably thinking he was feeling great joy. I've never killed my mother-in-law. I can see the potential for Herod to be confused and think, well, that was joyful. You see, the truth is, when I move closer to God, when I stay grounded in the truth, those fruits, all of them, multiply and grow in me. They're the fruits of the journey, not the goal. The potential is to get that order backwards. The potential is to use the star as the destination. What if we were able to always remember that if God is the destination, those stars will shine brightly whether we're aware of them or not? What if we use God as the guide and the star as a milepost along the way? You see, the Magi had to remember that. If the Magi forgot that, when they showed up in Jerusalem, which is where they thought the star was leading, because that's where all the kings were, that's where all the money was, that's where all the power was, so certainly the new king of the Jews would be there. If they got there and said to themselves, I follow the star, I'm where I belong, and then they meet Herod, this king, who entices them with his power, tries to convince them that they're part of his world, his plan. If they forget that they're not following the star, but searching for a living God, they could fall for what's happening in the palace. If they forget that the goal is God and not the star, they could have messed the whole rest of the story up. How many of you remember what your star was last year? I'm not going to ask. Those of you who weren't here last year, you had a star, but you didn't pull it out of a basket. It was something on your heart or in your spirit or your mind that said, I want to know more about this. I want to learn more about this. That thing that guided you last year. For me, it was joy. And I didn't get it from the Gloria Day basket. I got it because I woke up one morning on fire for joy. I woke up one morning thinking, you know, if I can help people find joy, even people who don't believe in God, they'll be drawn closer to that spirit. I started a company this year whose sole vision and purpose is that one word, joy. I tattooed it on my arm because I wanted to follow joy. It's a good word, joy, huh? I have, however, more times than I care to admit. 278 I counted. Gotten my wires crossed and started to think, if I can get more joy, I'll be closer to God. It's in those times when I've put my quest for joy ahead of my seeking God. And it's in those times when the attitudes and actions of other people, when the surprise situations or challenges of my life knock me right off course. It was easy to tell myself, seek joy, until my son gets sick, and then I know fear. It's easy to tell myself, seek joy, until somebody does something that I consider hurtful, and then I know sadness. It's easy to tell myself, seek joy, until I find somebody who has more joy than I do. And then I know inadequacy. It's easy for me to say, seek joy, until the school tax bill comes in September. And then I know greed and want. It's easy to say, seek joy, until the Herods and the really, really smart people step into my path. And then I lose my footing. It's work, and it's hard. But I think I'm getting better. I'm getting better at seeking God and knowing joy. Joy is my star. It's where my head is. A living God is my truth, where my feet are, where my grounding is. And as long as I keep them in the right order, I'm much more likely to feel joy and to know God. I use prayer. I use community. I meditate. I have wise and trusted counselors, some of whom are actually in this room. I seek the forgiveness of others and myself so that when I slip off course, I actually have a way to get back. And the important thing is to get back on course. To keep the star as my guide, but to seek God as my destination. It is in keeping the star and the destination in the proper order that I'm able to get anywhere close to my destination. Seek God, and the fear of my son's sickness is replaced with the joy and the hope of his very existence. Seek God, and the sadness when someone does something that I consider hurtful is replaced with forgiveness and the joy of knowing who I am in God's eyes. Seek God, and the inadequacy I feel when I see someone with more joy is replaced with the joy of knowing what a rich and abundant world God has created for all of us. Seek God, and the greed I feel when the school tax bill comes is replaced by the joy of knowing deep in my heart that God will and does find a way. Seek God as I lose my footing when the world and the Herods and the really, really smart people step into the path, and find that I know the joy of knowing purpose and truth and reassurance of who I am. You will get a star today. You will hold on to it. You will pray over it. You will ask God, why this star? Why this fruit? You will walk with it, and you will try to see where God is leading you this year. Some days your star will be a guide, and some days you will turn it into your destination. Often you have them in the right order, and you place your journey with Jesus in front. But sometimes the world will rub up against you, and the Herods will intimidate you, and the really, really smart people will give you pause and doubt. My prayer for you in those moments is that you remember your destination and not your guiding star. Keep your feet on the ground. Keep walking towards the same goal. Forgive others. Forgive yourself. Jesus will be there. Do not get distracted. Brian, can you turn the tape off? I want to share one more thing with you. I hate when God does this.